Ben, where are we?
We are somewhere different to those watching the video. We are, at a different school than your usual. We've rotated around schools quite regularly, don't we? We are at a different school because it's based sort of on what we're going to be discussing today.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us where we are?
We're in Bishop Loveday Primary School, Banbury, Bodicote. I shouldn't say Banbury, I should say Bodicote. Oh! That's a loud noise.
Is that the second podcast in a row your phone has interrupted our recording? I'm going to check.
Sorry. What's it?
Outrageous.
So
go on.
So we're in Bishop Loveday Primary School, and we're here, and it's coming up towards the time when a lot of my Bodicote youth drama group peoples will arrive for rehearsal. And we are rehearsing a show called The Secret Code that we first did in May 2015, Benjamin Coleman.
Yes, because I was choreographer.
You were choreographer
at
that time.
And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. Have you had a good week?
I've had a lovely week. What have I done today at lunchtime?
You've been drinking, which is making you very
chatty.
I mean, more than usual. We're filming a podcast.
I've been drinking. I've been out for it's my last day of working for my current employer, and I've taken my team out for lunch. Yeah. And yes, we've had a gin cocktail, and yes, we've had a couple of bottles of Prosecco. But when you say drinking, it makes it sound like You're just a drunk.
Yes. Well, today was my last day of term.
Yes.
Half term now. Hooray. So I'm very excited about that.
Bit of a rest.
Although it is worrying because obviously we're doing our school show, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, on the podcast soon. That opens 3 weeks today, but because of half term and because of inset days, it means that we will not meet to rehearse for just nearly 2 weeks, and then it's like, then we've just got like one rehearsal and then it's show week. So that's quite scary for me.
Yeah, you're quite scary for Bodicote tonight. Tonight is we've got a half term, so we've got a week off next week, and then our show is, I think we have 4 rehearsals left before our show.
Oh my God. It's terrifying. Should we jump straight into it? Because we've got a few things to talk about. So let's talk about our topic of the week.
Topic of the week. And now, I mean, acoustics-wise, I might just say this is the best.
Yeah, well, anything that can make that sound better would be appreciated.
Shut your face.
So we are talking today about doing the same production or a similar production more than once.
Yes.
Which, when you do amateur theatre quite a bit, sometimes that happens. And obviously we're talking about that because, as you said earlier, The Secret Code, which you are staging again, you did stage about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
So should we talk about that one first?
Let's.
So what's it like? Obviously, so you directed it before.
I don't think I did, actually, Ben. I think it was Mandy last time and it's Mandy this time.
I see.
But I've been involved both times.
Right.
We're having to do. We're recording as people walk into the hall. And The Secret Code, the first time we did it was a multiple production thing that was going on for Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, back in 2015. They were trying to get a world record for the simultaneous number of productions of the same show going on at the same time across the country. I don't think they actually ended up with a world record, but it was very good fun to try, and we were doing it for the Oxfordshire area. We had a great time doing it. The parents and the kids who were involved really loved it. And when it came to lockdown, we were looking for a show because we had big plans. Our last show was February 2020, just before lockdown. We managed to get Spamalot in just before lockdown. And our big plan was to do Greece the following February, and we'd kind of got the rights lined up. And then as the old COVID did hit, we just thought, this is crazy. We shouldn't be spending money on something that we don't know when we could stage. And we got back in touch with the rights holders for The Secret Code, Jonathan, who's a fantastic guy. And unfortunately, the guy who wrote the music, Michael, had died whilst we were rehearsing the first time round for the show. And so Jonathan hasn't done anything much with the show since then, and he was like, if you want to do it again, that's absolutely fine by me, and you can do it for nothing. So
that's amazing.
It was absolutely amazing, and we've been able to rehearse that through lockdown virtually, and then when we were able to meet live for the first time just before the summer, we actually met at the ATC studios outside before we broke for summer. It was really lovely to have them back, but we'd already done quite a lot online. So and then we didn't have a date in the diary, so we then randomly plucked a date that the school could do and that it looked like most of the leaders could do, and luckily the kids can all do, which is the 20th of November. So here we go, second time around for the Secret Code and Bodicote Youth Drama Group.
So obviously doing it twice, was it obviously you had to pick a show that you could rehearse virtually?
Yeah.
Was it important to pick a show that you sort of knew so that you could?
Absolutely right, Ben. So particularly from the music point of view, because actually what we were able to do really well using Zoom meetings was run the lines. So I actually think, and you haven't seen it yet, so you're seeing it for the first time tonight, but. The dialogue is pretty good actually, and the characterisations are not bad, particularly first act. But the singing was the hard bit, because it's very hard to do singing online. So the solo songs, fantastic, but we struggled a little bit to do the big numbers. Actually got very good, and we'll talk to one of the cast members in a minute who's sitting over there. We got very good at the smaller group numbers. We managed to play at the same time in multiple houses
that it worked
on Zoom, so that it worked for one person to sing, then the next person to sing, and the next person to sing. But where it was everybody sing together, obviously we couldn't do it.
It's very frustrating to try and do that. And now that you're back and it's staging it, what's it feel like? Because obviously you're staging the production with the same group, with some of the same cast, perhaps in different roles, and in the same venue. So what's that like, trying to keep that maybe fresh, but also maybe calling back to the original? Yeah,
it's good and it's bad. So there are times when you go, hang on, we had something really good for this last time, and it's useful to remember what you've done before and to grab back those memories. It also makes you, I think, slightly too laid back about the fact that this is going to be fine. And actually, in the last few weeks, I've been a bit shouty, Ben.
You?
Shout! Me? Shouty! There's some of the cast.
Yeah, they're just nodding.
Just because I think that we've been rehearsing it for quite a long time in comparison to how long we would have done if we'd all been together, does make people feel a little bit like, oh, okay, here we go again. Whereas actually now we're 4 rehearsals away from the show, and we really need to up the ante a little bit now.
So I've done a sort of a show a couple of times as a production team member. So Sister Act is a good example. So I did that with Banbury Operatic Society, was obviously an adult, sort of mainly they were adults in the group, where I was choreographer, and then a few years later I then directed and choreographed the show with one of the schools that I worked at. And that I found really interesting, because it obviously helps because you do know the show. And I love Sister Act. It's one of my absolute favourite shows. So you do really know it and know what you want. And sometimes, with choreography, you think, oh, I can use bits. But equally, especially if you're doing it in the same area, you want to try and keep it fresh if it was done recently.
And you were doing it in a very different venue, weren't you?
Yes. So I decided that if I was going to do it, because otherwise it would take place at the same venue, and I was sort of like, I don't want it to be a copy. So we decided to do it at the large church in town, which was amazing and just a big challenge, I won't lie, especially because it had never been used for a musical before. It'd been used for concerts and various things, but for a musical where you need to have the sound balance right, it was quite, and obviously different sorts of lighting. It's quite a challenge, but that helped me keep it fresh. Obviously fresh for me, interesting for me, fresh for the cast, fresh for the audience. So we had obviously audience members who had been in the original production that I'd done a few years before. So for them it felt sort of new and different and exciting. I do think it's interesting. Oh, obviously with our pantomimes.
What?
Oh,
Robin Hood.
You've got
from
a poster.
ATC?
You've got a nice poster. Obviously our pantomime, pantos are interesting, aren't they? Because obviously there's so many versions of Robin Hood, for example. And interestingly, Robin Hood was the first time we performed together.
It was.
In a pantomime. You were...
Yeah, I joined what was then St John's Drama Group for Robin Hood. Someone said to me in the playground at St John's School, do you act?
Do you act? Because you're a bit of a drama queen.
You look like someone who might overact.
Yeah, wonder where they got that.
Do you fancy being Prince John in our panto? Literally out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I went, yes, I used to act, and yes, I do fancy being Prince John. So along I came. How many? years ago, Ben?
I was trying to think of it while you were speaking.
So Ben was probably early years or year 1, and he's now going to be 18. So that's like 12, 13 years ago, I would say. Would that sound right?
We're asking
the girls in the corner. Does that sound about right, 12?
I think it is, you know. Yeah. I mean, if you think ATC's been going for 6 years now, and there was a couple of shows before.
Quite a lot of pantos as St John's and how many one night onlys? 1, 2, 3, 4 one night onlys.
Yeah.
Because we did Goes Forth before we became ATC, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyway. I think it was at least 10 years ago, at least. I mean, we'll work it out. We'll tell you next time.
Yeah. So Prince John. So I was Prince John, and this time in Robin Hood, my daughter's Prince John.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, it's a bit like me because in the Robin Hood I played the Dame, and then in this, oh no, I'm playing the Dame again.
It's a bit like Yes.
Just more impressive.
You were Maid Marian.
I was, and now I was Maid Marian. We turned Maid Marian into a Dame, so I was Maid Marian, and then I'm the nurse bedpan in this one. Yes, so still a Dame, just more fabulous costumes and bigger breasts.
Obviously.
I
mean, after 12 years, that's what would happen.
I insist on it.
That's what would happen.
They've just hang a bit lower.
No.
I mean, it might be the same bra, so they probably do. It's hang down. But yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously Robin is a different version that we're doing, of course. And obviously we do our thing where we modernise it and make it feel very current. But it is interesting doing sort of similar panto because again, you want that vision to be different. Ours is because it's a different venue, different quite a long time ago. I know I've done the same pantomime script before though with Cinderella.
Genuinely, I do think that as soon as you recast something, it becomes very different.
Absolutely.
Because every person who does a particular role brings something that you've not even thought of.
Different interpretations, and I think it is important if you're a production team member doing the same show. Yes, like you say, we
steal with glee.
Yeah, the things that we really worked.
If I didn't say it, that's what I meant.
That's lovely though.
Yeah.
The things that really worked, but equally, I think you have a responsibility to keep it fresh. Responsibility for your audience and your cast. But like we say, a few callbacks.
Yes.
And I know there's some of my original choreography.
Shut up.
In this version.
Shut up.
I will be.
He's watching a rehearsal tonight, so he'll be like, "Oh, I did that."
I'll be putting in my bill for my intellectual property.
Yeah. Right. Shall we welcome some of the cast members?
Let's welcome some of the cast members.
Let's do that.
So, do you want to introduce them?
Yes, let's introduce you to Katie Crowther. I don't know why she's got that surname. Could she be related to me?
And is she as annoying?
No, she's not as annoying. And also Shanice White, both of whom appeared in our original production of The Secret Code May 2015, and are still with us at Bodicote Church Youth Drama Group and in this production in 2021. Welcome, girls! Hey. Hello, welcome Katie, welcome Shanice.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the podcast, Treading the Boards. And we are talking about our topic of the week,
Do you find that as annoying as her daughter?
Yes, every day she manages to sing that.
Last week at drama, did we or did we not do choreography on the spot, and do exactly the same jingle, Ben?
That's because it's not an original.
Shut up!
It's not that original.
Shut up!
So, you are obviously in... Steady, you're going to knock over all this lovely background we've got.
Drums.
You are in The Secret Code.
Yes.
And you both were in it previously.
6 years ago, girls. More than 6 years ago.
So what's it like doing the same show with the same group in the same location? What's it like reprising this show?
It's really nice actually, especially after not being with these guys for like two and a half years or so. It's been really nice to get back into a show that we all basically know and really like, and it's a lovely storyline. It's very rousing.
That's a good word.
Rousing.
Yes.
Rousing.
Yes. It brings back the Blitz spirit, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's such a joyous topic as well.
Lovely.
Everyone.
Second World War.
What a hoot.
Boom. So, Shanice, what were you in when we did it first time?
The first time I was one of the twins called Norma.
Okay, one of the little evacuees.
Yeah.
Did you have a little gas mask around your neck, Shanice?
Did, and a suitcase as well.
Oh, brilliant. And this time?
And this time I'm Ruby, Rose's mother.
Oh, how lovely. So you've gone from
You
one of
can
the
tell.
The little evacuees to one of the mums. That's fantastic. And Katie, what about you?
I played Daisy, which was the younger sister of Rosie, Ruby's youngest daughter, and now I'm playing Rosie, the eldest daughter.
I think she's called Rose. I think you're saying Rosie because the person who played
I
her
don't
last time
know.
was called Rosie.
Whoever it is.
Whoever it is, fantastic. And what happens to her? Just give her a little story arc. Don't give it away too much.
She is slightly older than the other evacuees, but she still gets sent off with them because her mother thinks it would be good for everyone to have a nice, mature being with them.
Yeah.
And
you, Katie Crowther. She's not a nice mature.
She's not a nice being, no. And yeah, so she goes off with the kids to the school, and we do get up to a lot of mischief, solving crimes.
Solving crimes and everything.
You know how it is, just killing
Literally.
Germans. We don't kill any Germans. Just killing Nazis.
Hello to our listeners in Germany, of which there are apparently some according to the analytics.
Oh my goodness.
Just
Um,
Nazis.
Here we go.
But well, all is forgiven. We did Brexit, so it's fine. So what's it like then? So you obviously are playing roles that you saw someone else play. How is that sort of? Do you feel a bit of pressure? Do you feel like you have to try not to replicate exactly and make it your own? Do you feel like there's more, pressure because you're like, oh, I've got to live up to that? What does that feel like for either of you? Heavy question.
Yeah, I feel like because when I was an evacuee, I wasn't really paying like much attention to. I was playing my own part.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
and as that
concentrating on what I-
child
yeah.
wasn't paying much attention.
No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Right.
Well recovered.
But yeah, now like it's my role. You just have to think how
What
you
feel.
would
Yeah.
portray that character.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, it's nice because the previous player of Rose, who'd been with us for many years, and it was really nice.
84.
She was.
She was
Bless her.
84.
She was doing really well for herself.
She got a pension and left to Bodicote.
And yeah, so it has been nice to see how she did it, because at that time we all looked up to her. I think Rosie was like our mother, and we all looked up to her.
Love you, Rosie Thatcher.
Big shout out to Rosie Thatcher. And now, it's really nice to take upon the torch and carry it forth. It's nice. It's really nice.
Did you find that doing obviously the show again for a second time, did things come back to you quite quickly in terms of like the story and the songs and the choreography that you sort of reprised some of what you were doing again? Did it come back quite quickly?
Yeah, the choreography was instilled in us.
Thank you. It was
It's
weird how that number in particular that is the same choreography is just stayed.
It's one of the numbers that we have done again in concerts since, because actually it is so moving to do something about the war, and it's a real kind of crowd pleaser, isn't it? We're in it together. Let's all do it like let's all go like that. We're in it together.
Just like that.
Ben,
I mean,
you going to join in?
Yeah.
We're in it together.
I mean, this is great content for a podcast. These dance moves. More reason to watch the video version as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, girls, we wish you every success. It's coming up. When is it?
The
20th. Very good.
November.
Excellent. How many performances? DOS performances. That's correct. A matinee and an evening. Can people come and watch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we're actually doing is only offering it to parents and friends at the moment, because we're trying to do a COVID-safe production. So we're going to do it in a kind of cabaret way with tables and food from the war. So there'll be a bit of powdered egg, a bit of spam. Something like that.
Do I have to eat it if I
spam
come?
in every show.
Spam in every show. But if there are some tickets left, we will put them out, and people can shout and grab those.
Exciting.
Well done, you two.
I mean, I can hear the music playing next door, which means I think you're late to rehearsals.
Yes.
So
Honestly.
quick,
Get back.
go!
Thank you
very much.
Whoa, they've gone.
They've gone. They've had to run to rehearsal.
They?
I mean, I blame the mothers.
Jackie, apologies.
Just one of the mothers. So I mean, how are you? Just very quickly then to summarise, how are you finding it as director, sort of, or one of the co-directors?
Yeah.
How are you finding that sort of process
Yeah, I mean,
especially coming back after COVID.
I think coming back after COVID has probably had more impact than the fact we've done the show before, Ben, I'll be really honest. It's slightly more challenging to get the energy back up. Yeah. It's slightly more challenging because there's still that air of, ooh, should we be hugging? You know, there's bits in the scriptures that they embrace, and you're kind of like, actually, do we? Yeah.
Can I do this?
Yeah. So there's that element to overcome, and we haven't always got everyone here. Someone's self-isolating, or there's something on that means that they're not here. So it's been really tough, actually. I think we'll end up with a great show, but the process of getting there is actually COVID-wise, and having rehearsed it virtually and then trying to really bring it together online is really tough. So it's not been easy at all.
I think it has been tough. I think for every group returning in some way, thinking about not only, like you say, the COVID rules, but just I think building that energy back up. And we talked about it on the previous podcast about especially young people getting their confidence back up. And it is hard work, and you know, people have to appreciate that. But I'm hoping once they get on stage and they've got an audience, they'll remember why they love it.
Yeah, the lights are on.
The lights are on. They're in the costumes.
Absolutely.
That'll bring it up and which happens anyway.
Yeah.
Let alone, I think that will remind them why they love it.
I think it definitely will. And fingers crossed we'll be able to post some lovely pictures in a few weeks' time showing you them all dressed as evacuees.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely busy at the moment. So we've got Secret Code, My School Show in 3 weeks, which we'll talk about soon. Robin Hood, which we're rehearsing for.
Absolutely.
There's a concert from Banbury Operatics.
There is.
This week coming. You know.
So if you're local to Banbury and listening to the podcast, you should be watching stuff.
I mean,
if you're not, to my cousin in France, don't feel you've got to come over.
I will say I will go over with you next podcast where some of our listeners are from.
Oh.
We actually have the odd listener from various countries.
Nice.
Which is exciting.
That's really rude.
No.
She's not on.
No.
My cousin,
Lovely listeners, but from within the one or two here and there, sometimes more. Can I tell you my favourite?
Where?
Apparently we have a listener in Vatican City. I think the Pope is a listener. The Pope, I'm wondering if the Pope listens to our podcast.
Well, Your Reverence, you may kiss my ring.
Well,
and on that note, I should say,
on that note,
goodbye.
Yes, we'll have to dance out. Goodbye. We'll dance out on our own.
No podcast next week's half term.
Oh yes, we're gonna have a week off because you're going
back. I'm
away.
Going away. Yes, sorry.
You're going away, and I've got.
He's busy.
To relax. I might be sleeping after this half term.
We'll be back the week after.
We will be back 1 week, then we will be back. So see you very soon. Let's dance out. Let's go.
Kiss my ring.